Good evening, Shabbat Shalom, happy Thanksgiving weekend, happy Hanukkah. We have a lot to celebrate this weekend, and so first, again, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to everyone who's joining us tonight. Those who are in our beautiful sanctuary, of course, those visiting us virtually. We're so pleased to celebrate this very big weekend. Again, it's Thanksgiving, Shabbat, and Hanukkah does start tomorrow. So it's a really wonderful time to be together. This evening, as we do on Friday nights, we're going to use our Mishkan Tefillah prayer book. You can find it online thanks to the CCAR. They've given us free access. We're going to begin this evening on page 2 as we're going to invite up Leslie Seidman. She's going to light the Sabbath candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvah tov d'tzivonu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Thank you, Leslie, for leading us off this evening as we're going to continue on page 8 with our opening reading as I invite up Leslie's husband, Alan Seidman, a member of our Board of Agenda, for the opening reading this evening.
I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English, nor Hebrew, no semantics, and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life.
Thank you, Alan. As we're going to turn to page 28 in our prayer book, page 28, there we find the Baruch Hu. You'll also notice that it is page 146 in some books. There's 2 different books, so page 28 or 146. You'll notice that on 28 and 29, there's 1 Hebrew prayer and then 3 English prayers. Those 3 English prayers are actually just different translations of the same Hebrew prayer. So really, 28 and 29 are 1 page. That's why it sometimes seems like we're skipping. So I'm going to invite everyone to please rise for the call to worship as we sing the Baruch Hu. And we continue at the top of page 31 with our prayer of creation. Let's read this together. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sails of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. As we continue on page 32 with our prayer of God's love, Ahavat Olam, in English. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, as we continue on page 34 or 152 with Shema. Please be seated as we're going to continue with Ve'ahavta on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech u'shachbecha uvkumecha u'shartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. And let's read the alternative translation on the next page together. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. And we continue on page 39, or page 157 at the top of the page, and we'll read this responsively by paragraph. Standing on the parted shores of Israel, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together, as we turn to the next page for our prayer of freedom, Mi Chamocha. Top of page 43 or 161, we find our prayer, Hashkivenu, where we ask for spiritual protection as we sleep tonight. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. As we continue on the next page, page 44 or 162, as we're going to read our Sabbath prayer together in the middle of the page. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days Adonai made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day God ceased from work and was refreshed. Let's go ahead and turn to page 48. On page 48, we find the beginning of the Amidah. We're going to sing page 48, then go to page 50 and sing the second paragraph that you wrote. So I'm going to invite everyone who would like to please rise again, page 48 or 166.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah v'Elohei Rachel האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ביהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל.
On page 52 at the top, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh ukdoshim b'chol yom yahalucha sela baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated as we're going to continue with another of our Sabbath prayers on page 55 at the top of the page. And let's read this together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may they stay, fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. As we continue on page 57, as we're going to read at the bottom of the page, let's say in English, you are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, shotecha levadcha b'yira na'avod. Page 58 or 176 and 59, 177, of course, is our Modim prayer, which is particularly important today as it's our traditional prayer of thanksgiving. So let's read together in the middle of page 58. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives were itch in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. At the bottom of the page, for all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha lecha na'el lehodot. As we're going to conclude the Amidah, the center prayer of this service, on page 60 or 178, with our prayer of peace, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amecha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amecha tasim. Melech Adon lechol ha'shalom. Melech Baruch atah Adonai oseh hashalom.
In the middle of page 253, we find our Misha Berach prayer, our prayer of healing. As we look around our sanctuary, we invite anyone who would like, who's here in our sanctuary, but also those who are watching via the internet, to name any of the names they know of for need of healing. We begin with Ron Schwartz and Noel Foreman. Together in the middle of page 253 or 371, we sing our prayer of healing, our Misha Berach. Let's now take a moment of private meditation, and then we'll continue on page 341 or 645 with Lechilach. Again, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And before we continue, let's see if anyone is celebrating anything. Did anybody have a celebration recently besides Thanksgiving? Oh, Peggy, what was your celebration? Mazel tov, her son, and I assume his son as well. Stan's son. Okay, both your sons. There's one son, but for both of you, got married. So mazel tov. I invite both of you guys to rise. We're so thrilled on your celebrations. We want you guys to rise. We're going to say a prayer for you. When was it? What was the exact day? Last Sunday. Anybody else have anything they'd like to sell? Okay, so let's say a Shechianu. Oh, you guys do? Because you do. It's your anniversary. What are your names again? Mazel tov, visiting for Orlando. Welcome. So let's say a Shechianu for you and for the guys back there, the Biners. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, eternal God, ruler of the universe, who creates us and sustains us and brings us to times of great joy, just like a wedding and a 5th anniversary. Amen. Please be seated, guys. Mazel tov. I was reading an article recently, and you were married in 2016, that those who were married in 2016 will live long and prosperous lives. I think it's from the Chinese or Mongolian calendar, saying that that was the best year to ever get married in the history of humanity. So coincidentally, I was married that year too, but that's completely a coincidence. So Shabbat Shalom again to everybody. Just a little bit on this week's portion, Vayeshev. It is the longest narrative in Genesis. What does that mean? The longest story about an individual in the entire book of Genesis. Obviously, the next 4 books are going to be a much longer narrative about Moses, but even Moses, we don't learn as much about him as a child as we do, of course, Joseph. Joseph will be the central character for the rest of Genesis, several portions. Many people don't realize that because we say Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob so often, the patriarchs, but truly Joseph's story is much richer in that we meet him almost from birth and then see him at various stages throughout his life, watch him change before our eyes. A much longer story people don't realize than even Abraham, a much, much longer story than Isaac and even that of Jacob. And again, he's become such an important part of our world because without him, we would not have the Exodus from Egypt. The seminal moment in our history is the leaving of Egypt. But as I teach students, you can't have a leaving until you have a coming. And we had to get into Egypt somehow before we would leave. And Joseph is that bridge from our previous life as merely a monotheistic religion of an individual family to becoming a religion many years later. He is the bridge. I know there was discussion as to whether we should make him the 4th patriarch, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. It was decided not to, probably because he lived almost his entire he did live his entire adult life in Egypt and really didn't practice Judaism as much as we may believe he did, but it's hard to know. But still an essential character, and we see it time and time again. There's not 1, 2, or 3 stories about him. There are several in a row, very detailed. And so it's a blessing for us to be able to talk a little bit about Joseph, who again we see from not the greatest youth, not a terrible youth, but not the greatest one, who becomes one of the greatest heroes in our people's history. So happy Thanksgiving weekend again to everybody. Happy Hanukkah to everybody. We're looking forward to it. Again, if you didn't know, Sunday night is the start of Hanukkah. Hard to believe. We're now going to continue our service on page 282 with the Aleinu, as I'm going to invite everyone who would like to please rise. Page 282. Again, I'm going to invite everyone to please rise as we're going to sing the Aleinu at the bottom of the page, also 586. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, lated gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Please be seated as we're going to continue on page 287 as I invite everyone to sing V'ne'emar with me. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo Ushemo Echad. Let's turn to page 295 or page 599 as we prepare for Kaddish. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. Amen. We honor, as we do each week, the members of our armed forces who gave their lives during the previous weeks protecting our country. Remember all those police officers in our country who lost their lives protecting our cities. Remember those who died from COVID over the past year and a half. We remember the yahrzeit anniversary of Henry M. Boley, Max T. Brown, Beatrice R. Chaskin, Herman Delancey, Albert Ehrlich, Judy Glazer, Harry Hirsch, Mrs. Marcia Lebos, Stanley Lichtman, Asa Medin, Rachel Paderewski, Barney Minkoff-Paderewski, Irene Schaefer, Mark Silvers, Josephine Wachtel-Smith, Joseph M. Solomons, Carolina Horneline Traub. Does anybody else have the name of someone they'd like to add? The Kaddish praise is found on the previous page, page 294 or page 598. As I invite anyone who'd like to please rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'alma divrach hiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayedecho beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kari v'yamru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Olmei Almaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitalev V'yitalal Shemei Dekudesha B'rechu Leila Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiram B'yalma V'yamru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yamru Amen. Osei Shalom B'mrumav Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael ve'emru Amen. May the one who creates harmony and high bring peace to us and to all the world as we say Amen. Please be seated, as it's a pleasure to invite up Alan Seidman for a few announcements.
Good evening, Shabbat Shalom, and this being the Shabbat between Thanksgiving and Hanukkah, I wish you all a happy Gabal Tov. On behalf of the Board of Adjunta, I'd like to thank everyone who took part in the service, Rabbi, Stan and Peggy Beiner, my wife and supervisor, Leslie. Some announcements. The Oneg tomorrow is being sponsored by Lucille and Caton Smith and Steve Harris. And Steve Harris for Becky and Dan's anniversary. Saturday afternoon Torah study with Glenn Kersey, 1 p.m. in person and on Zoom. See Jennifer's email for the link. Our Hanukkah celebration will be Friday, December 3rd, Young Family Hanukkah at 5 p.m., a service with Hanukkah celebration Oneg to follow at 6 p.m. Please remember that our gift shop is open during the week for any Hanukkah items you might need, And finally, the community Hanukkah party is Sunday, December 5th at 3 p.m. at the JEA. Once again, Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Alan. And again, Shabbat Shalom and happy Gobble Tov. Happy Gobble Tov. I think that's a Sephardic tradition, so that's why we're not so knowledgeable about it. So all our best to everyone. May it be a wonderful celebratory weekend for all of us. We're going to conclude our service this evening on page 321 for Adon Olam, also page 625. I'll invite everyone to please rise, as it's our tradition to rise for the closing prayer, page 321 or page 625. Again, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm going to invite you to be seated for the moment as we're going to do Motzi and Kiddush in here. And for anyone in our building, we're going to have Motzi and Kiddush immediately afterwards, so you guys can have a little grape juice or a little wine and some challah. We're going to turn to page 5 or 123 for those who would like to join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon chinchilanu zicharon lemaseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh Zecher letziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'charta V'otanu kidashta Mikol ha'ami V'shavat kodshecha V'ahava uvratzon Chinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Te'avon, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And we can exit this way if you'd like, or this way, either way.